Today, we're diving deep into a fascinating and often overlooked corner of biblical history, the lost books of the Bible. Ever wondered what other texts were considered, debated, and ultimately excluded from the canon we know today? Prepare to have your mind blown. Now, before we jump into the specifics, let's establish some ground rules. What exactly are the lost books? Well, the Bible, as we know it, isn't just one single book. It's a collection of texts, a library, if you will, compiled over centuries. And the selection process was far from straightforward. Think of it like curating a museum exhibit. You have a vast collection of potential artifacts, but you have to decide which ones to display. In the case of the Bible, this exhibit is called the canon, the official list of accepted books. The canon wasn't always fixed. For centuries, various communities and individuals held different views on which texts were divinely inspired and worthy of inclusion. There were countless writings circulating, stories and teachings attributed to prophets, apostles, and even Jesus himself. Some were embraced, some were questioned, and many were ultimately rejected. So, how did the canon come to be? It was a complex process involving debates, theological considerations, and, yes, even a bit of politics. Different Christian communities, spread across the Roman Empire, had their own preferred texts. As Christianity grew, the need for a unified set of scriptures became increasingly important, especially to combat the spread of heretical teachings. A crucial turning point in this process was the Council of Nicaea in 325 AD. While the council didn't definitively settle the matter of the canon, it did lay the groundwork for its eventual formation. It brought together church leaders to address theological disputes and, importantly, it signaled a growing desire for doctrinal unity. Over the following centuries, other councils and individual theologians continued to refine and debate the canon, eventually leading to the list we're familiar with today. But here's the kicker: the books that made it into the Bible are only a fraction of what was actually written and read during the early Christian era. Many other texts, just as intriguing and thought-provoking, were ultimately deemed non-canonical or excluded. Some were considered heretical, contradicting established doctrines. Others were deemed to have questionable authorship or to lack sufficient apostolic authority. Still others simply didn't gain widespread acceptance. These lost books are the focus of our exploration. They provide a window into the diversity of early Christian thought, offering alternative perspectives on the life and teachings of Jesus, and on the development of Christian theology. They challenge our assumptions about the origins of Christianity, and they remind us that the story of the Bible is far more complex and fascinating than many realize. So, buckle up, because we're about to embark on a journey into a world of forgotten scriptures, hidden gospels, and ancient mysteries. Now, let's delve into the heart of the matter. Why were these books not included in the Bible? Why were they deemed lost? The reasons are multifaceted, and often intertwined, but they generally fall into a few key categories. First and foremost, theological disagreements played a significant role. As Christianity evolved, different schools of thought emerged, each with its own interpretations of Jesus' teachings and the nature of God. Some texts contained ideas that were perceived as contradicting the dominant theological doctrines, such as the divinity of Christ, the nature of the Trinity, or the concept of salvation. These texts were often labeled as heretical, meaning they deviated from accepted beliefs, and were subsequently rejected. Another major factor was concerns about authorship. The early church placed a high value on apostolic authority, meaning the writings of the apostles or those closely associated with them. Texts that couldn't be convincingly linked to an apostle, or that were written long after their deaths, were often viewed with suspicion. This is because the apostles were considered to be eyewitnesses to Jesus' life and teachings, and their writings were seen as the most authentic and reliable source of Christian doctrine. The absence of a clear authorial link was a significant hurdle for many potential canonical books. Perceived heretical content, as mentioned earlier, was a major red flag. Some of the lost books promoted Gnostic beliefs, which differed significantly from mainstream Christian thought. Gnosticism emphasized secret knowledge or gnosis as the key to spiritual enlightenment. Gnostics often viewed the material world as evil, and the Creator God as a lesser, imperfect being. Texts containing these Gnostic ideas were often seen as undermining the core tenets of Christian faith and were therefore excluded. And finally, let's not underestimate the influence of political power. As Christianity gained influence, the Church, and its leaders, became increasingly involved in the political landscape. The desire for unity and control within the growing Christian community often led to the suppression of dissenting voices and alternative interpretations. Texts that challenged the authority of the Church or promoted alternative viewpoints were often marginalized or even actively suppressed. The Council of Nicaea, while not directly deciding the canon, set the stage for a more centralized and unified Church, which naturally favored specific theological interpretations and, consequently, specific texts. The standardization that began there played a role in the eventual exclusion of writings that didn't align with the growing orthodoxies. So, the exclusion of these books wasn't a simple matter of choosing the best texts. It was a complex process shaped by theological debates, concerns about authorship, the rise of competing religious philosophies like Gnosticism, and the evolving political landscape of the early Church. Understanding these factors is crucial to appreciating the richness and complexity of the biblical narrative and the significance of the lost books. Now that we've explored the reasons behind the exclusion, let's dive into some specific examples. And where better to start than with one of the most influential and enigmatic of the lost books, the Book of Enoch. This isn't just some obscure text, it's a cornerstone of apocalyptic literature and a treasure trove of early Jewish and Christian thought. While not included in the canonical Bible, the Book of Enoch enjoyed widespread popularity in the early centuries, and its influence is undeniable. It's mentioned in the New Testament, specifically in the Book of Jude, which quotes directly from Enoch, lending it a degree of authority for some early Christians. So, what exactly is the Book of Enoch? It's a collection of writings attributed to Enoch, a figure from the Hebrew Bible, the great-grandfather of Noah. The book itself is a complex tapestry of visions, prophecies, and cosmological explorations. It's divided into several sections, each offering a unique perspective on the world, the heavens, and the future. The overarching theme is apocalyptic. Enoch describes a world teetering on the brink of divine judgment, filled with corruption and injustice. He paints a vivid picture of angels, both good and evil, locked in a cosmic battle. These aren't just your typical angels. Enoch's descriptions are incredibly detailed and imaginative, offering a glimpse into a celestial realm teeming with powerful beings. One of the most captivating aspects of the Book of Enoch is its exploration of the demonic realm. It delves into the origins of evil, attributing it to the Watchers, a group of angels who descended to earth and fathered the Nephilim, a race of giants. This narrative offers a compelling origin story for the forces of darkness, explaining the presence of evil and the corruption of humanity. The Book of Enoch also offers a unique cosmology, providing detailed descriptions of the heavens, the earth, and the underworld. Enoch is taken on a series of journeys, witnessing the workings of the cosmos, the movement of celestial bodies, and the secrets of the afterlife. He sees the dwelling places of the righteous, the torments of the wicked, and the ultimate triumph of God. The influence of the Book of Enoch on early Christian thought is profound. It shaped ideas about angels, demons, the afterlife, and the coming judgment. Many early Christians, especially those with apocalyptic leanings, found comfort and inspiration in its visions of hope and redemption. It provided a framework for understanding the world and the role of humanity in the cosmic struggle between good and evil. But why wasn't it included in the canon? The answer is multifaceted. The Book of Enoch was written over several centuries, and its authorship is disputed. The language and style vary across the different sections, suggesting multiple authors and editors. Furthermore, some of its theological concepts, like the detailed descriptions of angels and demons, and the specific chronology of events, were not fully aligned with the developing theological consensus of the early Church. Despite its popularity, its perceived heterodoxy and uncertain origins ultimately led to its exclusion from the official canon. However, its influence lived on, shaping the imaginations and beliefs of countless individuals and inspiring a rich tapestry of art, literature, and religious thought. Alright, let's dive deeper into the Book of Enoch and explore some of its most fascinating and controversial aspects. We've already established its apocalyptic nature and its influence, but now, let's get into the nitty-gritty. One of the most compelling narratives within the Book of Enoch revolves around the Watchers. These are not your typical angels, they are described as a celestial order, sent down to earth to observe humanity. However, they become captivated by human women and, against God's will, take them as wives. This union results in the birth of the Nephilim, a race of giants, known for their violence and wickedness. The Watchers' transgression is a pivotal moment in Enoch. They not only defy God's command but also introduce forbidden knowledge to humanity. They teach women about cosmetics and adornment, and men about warfare and the forging of weapons. This knowledge, according to Enoch, corrupts humanity, leading to widespread violence and moral decay. This narrative provides a compelling explanation for the origins of evil and the suffering in the world. It paints a picture of a cosmic battle, where the forces of darkness are not simply abstract concepts, but rather tangible beings, capable of influencing human affairs. The Nephilim, the offspring of the Watchers and human women, are described as monstrous beings, devouring the resources of the earth and wreaking havoc. Their existence further fuels the corruption and violence, leading to a cataclysmic event, a flood, that is meant to cleanse the earth of its wickedness. The Book of Enoch, therefore, offers a dramatic origin story for the flood narrative, linking it to the actions of the Watchers and the Nephilim. Beyond the Watchers and the Nephilim, Enoch's cosmology is truly unique. He describes a multi-layered universe, with multiple heavens and a detailed understanding of the movement of celestial bodies. He describes the sun, the moon, and the stars, not just as lights in the sky, but as living beings, guided by angels and following specific paths ordained by God. He maps out the geography of the earth, including mountains, valleys, and seas, and also ventures into the underworld, describing the punishments of the wicked and the rewards of the righteous. Enoch's journeys through the heavens provide insights into the divine realm. He sees the throne of God, surrounded by angels and archangels. He witnesses the workings of the cosmos, the movement of celestial bodies, and the secrets of the afterlife. He is shown the dwelling places of the righteous, where they will receive their eternal reward, and the torments of the wicked, who will suffer for their sins. The influence of these ideas on other religious texts is undeniable. The narrative of the Watchers and the Nephilim, for example, appears in the Hebrew Bible, specifically in the Book of Genesis. The descriptions of angels and demons, and the cosmic battle between good and evil, resonate with other apocalyptic writings, like the Book of Daniel and the Book of Revelation. In essence, the Book of Enoch isn't just a collection of ancient writings, it's a window into a complex worldview. It offers a unique perspective on the origins of evil, the nature of the cosmos, and the ultimate destiny of humanity. It's a text that continues to fascinate and inspire, offering a rich tapestry of imagination and religious thought. Understanding these specific examples of its content allows us to grasp the depth and complexity of this remarkable book, and to appreciate its lasting impact on religious thought and culture. Now, let's dive deeper into the Book of Enoch and explore some of its most fascinating and controversial aspects. We've already established its apocalyptic nature and its influence, but now, let's get into the nitty-gritty. One of the most compelling narratives within the Book of Enoch revolves around the Watchers. These are not your typical angels, they are described as a celestial order, sent down to earth to observe humanity. However, they become captivated by human women and, against God's will, take them as wives. This union results in the birth of the Nephilim, a race of giants, known for their violence and wickedness. The Watchers' transgression is a pivotal moment in Enoch. They not only defy God's command but also introduce forbidden knowledge to humanity. They teach women about cosmetics and adornment, and men about warfare and the forging of weapons. This knowledge, according to Enoch, corrupts humanity, leading to widespread violence and moral decay. This narrative provides a compelling explanation for the origins of evil and the suffering in the world. It paints a picture of a cosmic battle, where the forces of darkness are not simply abstract concepts, but rather tangible beings, capable of influencing human affairs. The Nephilim, the offspring of the Watchers and human women, are described as monstrous beings, devouring the resources of the earth and wreaking havoc. Their existence further fuels the corruption and violence, leading to a cataclysmic event, a flood, that is meant to cleanse the earth of its wickedness. The Book of Enoch, therefore, offers a dramatic origin story for the flood narrative, linking it to the actions of the Watchers and the Nephilim. Beyond the Watchers and the Nephilim, Enoch's cosmology is truly unique. He describes a multi-layered universe, with multiple heavens and a detailed understanding of the movement of celestial bodies. He describes the sun, the moon, and the stars, not just as lights in the sky, but as living beings, guided by angels and following specific paths ordained by God. He maps out the geography of the earth, including mountains, valleys, and seas, and also ventures into the underworld, describing the punishments of the wicked and the rewards of the righteous. Enoch's journeys through the heavens provide insights into the divine realm. He sees the throne of God, surrounded by angels and archangels. He witnesses the workings of the cosmos, the movement of celestial bodies, and the secrets of the afterlife. He is shown the dwelling places of the righteous, where they will receive their eternal reward, and the torments of the wicked, who will suffer for their sins. The influence of these ideas on other religious texts is undeniable. The narrative of the Watchers and the Nephilim, for example, appears in the Hebrew Bible, specifically in the Book of Genesis. The descriptions of angels and demons, and the cosmic battle between good and evil, resonate with other apocalyptic writings, like the Book of Daniel and the Book of Revelation. In essence, the Book of Enoch isn't just a collection of ancient writings, it's a window into a complex worldview. It offers a unique perspective on the origins of evil, the nature of the cosmos, and the ultimate destiny of humanity. It's a text that continues to fascinate and inspire, offering a rich tapestry of imagination and religious thought. Understanding these specific examples of its content allows us to grasp the depth and complexity of this remarkable book, and to appreciate its lasting impact on religious thought and culture. Alright, let's shift gears and journey into another fascinating lost text, the Gospel of Thomas. This isn't your typical gospel, it's a unique collection of sayings attributed to Jesus, offering a radically different perspective on his teachings and the path to salvation. Unlike the canonical Gospels, which focus on narrative accounts of Jesus' life, death, and resurrection, the Gospel of Thomas presents itself as a compilation of 114 sayings, or logia, attributed to Jesus. Think of it as a spiritual instruction manual, a guide to self-discovery, rather than a historical biography. The Gospel opens with the powerful statement, "These are the secret sayings that the living Jesus spoke and Judas Thomas the twin recorded." This immediately sets the tone, hinting at hidden knowledge and a direct, personal encounter with the divine. What makes the Gospel of Thomas particularly intriguing is its strong Gnostic perspective. Gnosticism, a diverse religious and philosophical movement flourishing in the early centuries of the Common Era, emphasized the importance of inner spiritual knowledge, or gnosis, for achieving enlightenment and liberation from the material world. Gnostics believed that the material world was created by a lesser, imperfect deity, and that true salvation lay in recognizing the divine spark within oneself and escaping the confines of this earthly prison. The Gospel of Thomas reflects these Gnostic beliefs. It doesn't focus on the crucifixion and resurrection as central events. Instead, it emphasizes the importance of self-knowledge, recognizing the divine within, and understanding the true nature of reality. The sayings often challenge traditional interpretations of Jesus' teachings, focusing on themes of self-awareness, inner transformation, and the rejection of worldly attachments. It's a gospel of self-discovery, urging the reader to look inward for the answers, rather than relying solely on external authority or dogma. The discovery of the Gospel of Thomas in 1945, as part of the Nag Hammadi Library in Egypt, was a monumental event. It provided scholars and theologians with a fresh perspective on early Christian thought, revealing the diversity of beliefs and practices that existed during the formative years of Christianity. It offered a glimpse into a world of alternative interpretations and challenged the accepted narratives of the time. The Gospel of Thomas presents Jesus as a teacher of wisdom, a guide who reveals the path to enlightenment. He doesn't perform miracles in the same way as in the canonical Gospels. Instead, he offers cryptic sayings, riddles, and parables designed to provoke thought and encourage introspection. The emphasis is on understanding the true nature of reality and the divine spark within each individual. It's a journey inward, a quest for self-knowledge and spiritual awakening. This inward focus is a defining characteristic of the Gnostic worldview, and it permeates every aspect of the Gospel of Thomas. This focus on internal knowledge is what truly sets it apart. It's a gospel of self-discovery, urging the reader to look inward for the answers, rather than relying solely on external authority or dogma. Now, let's delve into some of the key sayings found within the Gospel of Thomas and explore their philosophical implications. These aren't just random quotes, they offer a unique lens through which to view Jesus' teachings, often diverging significantly from the narratives presented in the canonical Gospels. One of the most famous sayings, Logion 22, states, Jesus said, "If you make the two one, and if you make the inner as the outer and the outer as the inner, and the above as the below, and if you make the male and the female one and the same, so that the male not be male nor the female female, then you will enter the kingdom." This is a powerful statement about unity and transcendence. It speaks to the merging of opposites, the dissolution of dualities, and the achieving of a state of wholeness. Compare this to the canonical Gospels, where the emphasis is often on moral behavior, adherence to rules, and the acceptance of Jesus as the Messiah. While there are elements of love and unity in the canonical Gospels, the Gospel of Thomas takes it a step further, suggesting a complete merging of self and other, inner and outer, to attain spiritual enlightenment. Another striking saying, Logion 70, states, Jesus said, "If you bring forth what is within you, what you have will save you. If you do not have that within you, what you do not have within you will destroy you." This emphasizes the importance of self-knowledge and the divine spark within. It suggests that salvation isn't achieved through external rituals or beliefs, but through recognizing and nurturing the inner self. This stands in stark contrast to the emphasis on faith and repentance in the canonical Gospels. In the Gospel of Thomas, the focus is on self-realization, on uncovering the truth that already exists within. Logion 3, often cited, reads, Jesus said, "If those who lead you say to you, 'See, the kingdom is in the sky,' then the birds of the sky will precede you. If they say to you, 'It is in the sea,' then the fish of the sea will precede you. Rather, the kingdom is inside of you, and it is outside of you. When you come to know yourselves, then you will become known, and you will realize that it is you who are the sons of the living Father. But if you do not know yourselves, then you are in poverty, and you are poverty." This is a radical statement, placing the kingdom of God not in some distant future or in a specific location, but within the individual. It aligns with the Gnostic emphasis on the divine spark within each person. The canonical Gospels, while emphasizing the kingdom of God, often portray it as a future reality, a reward for those who believe. The Gospel of Thomas, however, presents a more immediate and accessible vision of the kingdom, one that can be realized through self-knowledge. These are just a few examples, but they highlight the distinct philosophical implications of the Gospel of Thomas. The sayings challenge traditional interpretations of Jesus' teachings, emphasizing self-awareness, inner transformation, and the rejection of worldly attachments. They encourage a more introspective and personal approach to spirituality, offering a path to enlightenment that is rooted in the individual's own experience and understanding, rather than relying solely on external authority or dogma. They invite us to question our assumptions about the nature of reality, the nature of God, and the very definition of salvation. The Gospel of Thomas isn't just a collection of sayings, it's a spiritual guide, inviting us to embark on a journey of self-discovery and to explore the hidden truths within. Alright, let's turn our attention to a truly fascinating and often eyebrow-raising text, the Infancy Gospel of Thomas. Prepare to have your understanding of the young Jesus challenged, because this book offers a wildly different portrayal of his early life than the familiar accounts in the canonical Gospels. This isn't a story of quiet childhood and humble beginnings. Instead, the Infancy Gospel of Thomas is a collection of legends and miracles attributed to the young Jesus, painting a picture of a precocious and powerful child, a boy who commands supernatural abilities and often uses them in ways that are, well, rather unusual. It's a far cry from the gentle, loving Savior we meet in the Gospels of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. The book opens with Jesus at the age of 5, already displaying extraordinary powers. He's depicted as a child who can seemingly do anything, from miraculously healing illnesses to cursing those who displease him. These aren't the acts of a humble carpenter's son, these are the deeds of someone who seems to have command over the very fabric of reality. One of the most striking features of the Infancy Gospel is the sheer number of miracles attributed to Jesus. He molds clay into birds and then brings them to life, he curses a young boy who angers him, turning the boy into a withered corpse, and he performs a series of other extraordinary feats. These miracles often serve a purpose, but that purpose isn't always entirely clear, and sometimes they seem to be motivated by anger or a desire for control. The tone of the Infancy Gospel is markedly different from the canonical Gospels. While the canonical Gospels focus on Jesus' teachings, his compassion, and his ultimate sacrifice, the Infancy Gospel emphasizes his power and his ability to perform miracles. The focus is on the spectacular, the awe-inspiring, and the sometimes frightening. The young Jesus is presented as a figure of both wonder and potential danger. How does the Infancy Gospel differ from the canonical Gospels? The contrasts are stark. The canonical Gospels offer a narrative of Jesus' life that emphasizes his humility, his willingness to serve others, and his ultimate sacrifice for humanity. They focus on his teachings about love, forgiveness, and the kingdom of God. The Infancy Gospel, on the other hand, offers a narrative that emphasizes his divine power, his ability to perform miracles, and his sometimes harsh judgment of those around him. The canonical Gospels portray Jesus as growing in wisdom and stature, learning about the world and his role within it. The Infancy Gospel, however, presents a Jesus who seems to be born with all the knowledge and power he will ever need. There's little sense of growth or development, he simply is extraordinary from the outset. The Infancy Gospel of Thomas wasn't accepted into the canon for several reasons. Its portrayal of Jesus was seen as incompatible with the theological understanding of the early church. The miracles, while impressive, were often viewed as lacking the moral and spiritual depth of those described in the canonical Gospels. The books focus on the miraculous, without a deeper exploration of Jesus' teachings on love, forgiveness, and salvation, was seen as problematic. Finally, the book's origins and authorship were uncertain, adding to the skepticism surrounding its authenticity. The Infancy Gospel of Thomas offers a unique and often unsettling perspective on the early life of Jesus. It challenges our assumptions about his character and his relationship with the world. It's a reminder that the story of Jesus is a complex and multifaceted one, and that there are many different ways of understanding his life and teachings. While it may not be part of the official canon, it remains a fascinating text, offering a glimpse into the diverse and sometimes unexpected landscape of early Christian thought. Now, let's briefly touch on another of the most debated and controversial of the lost books, the Gospel of Judas. This text, unlike some of the others we've discussed, didn't simply fade into obscurity, its rediscovery in the 20th century ignited a firestorm of debate and redefined our understanding of one of the most maligned figures in history. The controversy surrounding the Gospel of Judas stems from its radical reinterpretation of Judas Iscariot, the disciple who, according to the canonical Gospels, betrayed Jesus. Instead of portraying Judas as a treacherous villain, the Gospel of Judas presents him in a dramatically different light, as the most favored disciple, the one closest to Jesus, and the one entrusted with a crucial, albeit difficult, task. The discovery of this text in the 1970s, as part of a codex found in Egypt, sent shockwaves through the theological world. The codex itself, known as the Codex Chakos, contains several other Gnostic texts, solidifying the connection between the Gospel of Judas and Gnostic thought. Its authenticity was debated for years, but eventually, the text was translated and published, revealing its provocative message. The Gospel of Judas offers a Gnostic interpretation of Judas's actions. Gnostics believed that the material world was a prison, and liberation from it was the ultimate goal. In this context, Jesus, as a divine being, had to shed his physical form to escape the material realm. Judas, according to this gospel, was not a betrayer in the traditional sense, but a willing participant in a divine plan. He was the one who, through his act of betrayal, facilitated Jesus' escape from the earthly realm, thereby enabling his return to the divine. The text portrays Jesus revealing secret knowledge to Judas, knowledge that the other disciples were not privy to. Jesus tells Judas that he will sacrifice him, and Judas, in turn, understands his role as a necessary agent in this divine process. The Gospel suggests that Judas was acting not out of greed or malice, but out of a profound understanding of Jesus' true nature and the nature of reality. He was, in essence, the key to Jesus' liberation. This Gnostic interpretation fundamentally challenges the traditional portrayal of Judas as a symbol of betrayal and evil. Instead, he is presented as a hero, a willing participant in a cosmic drama. This radical shift in perspective has led to intense debate. Some scholars see the Gospel of Judas as a valuable historical document, offering a glimpse into a competing theological viewpoint from the early centuries. Others dismiss it as a heretical text, a distortion of the true teachings of Jesus. The Gospel of Judas presents a complex and challenging narrative. It doesn't shy away from the difficult questions surrounding betrayal, destiny, and the nature of good and evil. It forces us to reevaluate our assumptions about Judas, and about the events surrounding the crucifixion. While it may not align with the canonical Gospels, it offers a compelling alternative perspective, reminding us of the diversity of thought and belief that characterized the early Christian era. It's a testament to the enduring power of these lost books to challenge, provoke, and ultimately, to reshape our understanding of the past. Now, before we move on, let's briefly touch upon some other notable lost books that didn't make the cut, but still offer fascinating insights into the early Christian world. We've already seen how diverse and sometimes contradictory these texts could be, and these examples further illustrate that point. The landscape of early Christian literature was far more expansive than the Bible we know today, and these are just a few of the many writings that circulated during that time. First, let's consider the Gospel of Peter. This text, fragments of which were discovered in Egypt, offers a unique perspective on the passion, death, and resurrection of Jesus. It's particularly interesting because it seems to present a narrative that differs in some details from the canonical Gospels. For example, the Gospel of Peter describes the crucifixion in a more dramatic and graphic way, emphasizing the physical suffering of Jesus. It also includes accounts of the resurrection that are quite different, focusing on a giant figure emerging from the tomb. The Gospel of Peter highlights the importance of the resurrection as a moment of triumph over death, a key theme in early Christian belief, but it does so through a lens that's not entirely congruent with the canonical accounts. While some early Christians valued this text, it was ultimately rejected due to theological disagreements and concerns about its authenticity. Next, we have the Apocalypse of Peter. This text is an apocalyptic vision, a journey through the afterlife. It describes heaven and hell in vivid detail, with graphic depictions of the punishments awaiting the wicked and the rewards awaiting the righteous. The Apocalypse of Peter offers a glimpse into the early Christian understanding of the afterlife, and it reveals the importance of ideas about judgment and the ultimate triumph of good over evil. This genre of literature, with its focus on visions and revelations, was quite popular in the early Christian world, but the Apocalypse of Peter, like the Book of Enoch, presented certain theological ideas that didn't align with the emerging orthodoxies. It was considered by some to be heretical due to its unusual descriptions of the afterlife and its focus on specific judgments, and so was ultimately excluded. Finally, let's look at the Proto-Evangelium of James. This text provides a fascinating look at the early life of Mary, the mother of Jesus, and her relationship with her parents, Joachim and Anne. It also includes accounts of the birth of Jesus and details about the childhood of Mary. The Proto-Evangelium of James is particularly interesting because it fleshes out the stories surrounding Mary's early life, providing details not found in the canonical Gospels. It offers a more detailed account of her conception and birth, and it introduces various legends and miraculous events. It was quite popular in the early centuries and had a significant influence on the development of Marian piety, but it was ultimately excluded from the canon. Its exclusion was primarily due to its perceived lack of apostolic authority and its focus on stories that were seen as secondary to the core teachings of Jesus. These are just a few examples of the many lost books that offer valuable insights into the diversity of early Christian thought. They remind us that the story of the Bible is not a static one. It's a story that evolved over time, with various texts being considered, debated, and ultimately chosen or rejected. Each of these texts provides a unique perspective on the life and teachings of Jesus, and on the development of early Christian theology. They challenge our assumptions and offer alternative perspectives on the origins of Christianity. Exploring these texts allows us to understand the richness and complexity of the biblical narrative and to appreciate the significance of the lost books. They are a testament to the enduring power of these ancient writings to challenge, provoke, and, ultimately, to reshape our understanding of the past. Now, let's zoom out and examine the historical and cultural backdrop in which these lost books emerged. Understanding the context is crucial to appreciating why these texts were written, how they were received, and why they eventually met their fate. The early centuries of the Common Era were a crucible of ideas, a time of immense social and political upheaval, and the fertile ground for the flourishing of diverse religious thought. One of the most significant influences during this period was the rise of Gnosticism. We've touched on it already, but it bears repeating. Gnosticism wasn't a single, unified religion, but rather a complex and multifaceted movement. It offered a radically different worldview from mainstream Christianity, emphasizing secret knowledge, or gnosis, as the key to spiritual liberation. Gnostics believed that the material world was inherently flawed, created by a lesser, imperfect deity, and that true salvation lay in escaping the confines of this earthly prison. The Gnostic emphasis on personal experience, inner enlightenment, and the rejection of the material world resonated with many people grappling with the challenges of the Roman Empire. This perspective fueled the creation of texts like the Gospel of Thomas and the Gospel of Judas, which offered alternative interpretations of Jesus' teachings and the nature of reality, directly challenging the emerging orthodoxies. The political landscape of the early church was also a critical factor. Christianity emerged in a world dominated by the Roman Empire. Initially, Christians faced persecution, but as the religion gained popularity, it gradually gained acceptance. The Roman Empire, with its complex system of governance and its emphasis on order and control, had a profound impact on the development of Christianity. The desire for unity and doctrinal consistency within the growing Christian community led to a process of standardization. Church leaders sought to define what constituted acceptable Christian belief, and this inevitably led to the exclusion of texts that contradicted those beliefs. The Council of Nicaea, while not directly deciding the canon, was a pivotal moment, setting the stage for a more centralized and unified church. Political considerations, the need for social cohesion, and the desire to combat perceived heresies all contributed to the process of canonization. The cultural context was equally important. The early centuries of the Common Era witnessed a vibrant exchange of ideas. Philosophical schools flourished, and new religious movements competed for followers. The rise of Christianity occurred alongside the decline of traditional Roman religion. This cultural ferment created an environment where new ideas could take root and flourish. The lost books reflect this intellectual landscape, offering diverse perspectives on the nature of God, the universe, and the path to salvation. They reflect a period of questioning, innovation, and experimentation. Furthermore, the social context played a role. The early church attracted people from all walks of life, including those who were marginalized or oppressed. The emphasis on equality and the promise of salvation resonated with those seeking a sense of belonging and purpose. The lost books, with their alternative perspectives and their emphasis on personal experience, may have appealed to those who felt excluded by the emerging orthodoxies. They offered a space for alternative interpretations and practices, and they challenged the established power structures of the time. In essence, the lost books were born out of a specific historical and cultural context. The rise of Gnosticism, the political dynamics of the Roman Empire, and the cultural ferment of the early centuries all played a role in their creation, their reception, and their eventual exclusion from the biblical canon. Understanding this context allows us to appreciate the richness, diversity, and complexity of early Christian thought and to recognize the significance of these fascinating and often controversial texts. Now, let's explore the lasting impact of these lost books. Their exclusion from the biblical canon didn't erase them from history. In fact, these texts have exerted a profound influence on art, literature, and popular culture, and continue to fascinate us to this day. Consider the world of art. The imagery and narratives found in the lost books have inspired countless artists throughout the centuries. The Book of Enoch, with its vivid descriptions of angels, demons, and the cosmic battle between good and evil, has fueled the imaginations of painters, sculptors, and illustrators. Artists have depicted the Watchers, the Nephilim, and the journeys of Enoch himself, creating stunning visual representations of these ancient stories. The Gnostic texts, with their emphasis on inner knowledge and the struggle against the material world, have also influenced artistic expression. Artists have explored themes of self-discovery, spiritual enlightenment, and the duality of good and evil, drawing inspiration from the Gnostic emphasis on the divine spark within. These images not only reflect the stories themselves, but also the underlying philosophical and theological ideas that they represent. In literature, the influence is even more pervasive. Writers have drawn on the lost books to create compelling characters, explore complex themes, and build rich and imaginative worlds. The Book of Enoch, with its apocalyptic visions and its exploration of the origins of evil, has been a source of inspiration for fantasy and science fiction writers. Authors have borrowed elements from the Enochian cosmology, creating intricate worlds with multiple heavens and a detailed understanding of the afterlife. The Gnostic texts, with their emphasis on secret knowledge and spiritual quests, have inspired countless novels and stories. Writers have explored themes of self-discovery, inner transformation, and the search for ultimate truth, drawing on Gnostic ideas about the nature of reality and the divine spark within. The Gospel of Thomas, with its cryptic sayings and its emphasis on self-knowledge, has been particularly influential, inspiring writers to create narratives that focus on personal growth, spiritual awakening, and the exploration of the inner self. The impact extends into popular culture as well. These lost books have found their way into movies, television shows, video games, and music. They have provided source material for screenwriters, game developers, and musicians, who have incorporated elements of the stories and themes into their work. The Book of Enoch, with its dramatic narratives and its cosmic battles, has been a particularly popular source of inspiration for filmmakers and game developers. Gnostic ideas have also found their way into popular culture, influencing films, novels, and music. The focus on inner knowledge, self-discovery, and the rejection of the material world resonates with contemporary audiences. The Gospel of Judas, with its controversial portrayal of Judas Iscariot, has been the subject of documentaries, books, and films, sparking debate and challenging our understanding of traditional narratives. The enduring fascination with the lost books stems from their unique perspectives on the origins of Christianity, their exploration of complex theological ideas, and their challenge to conventional interpretations of Jesus' teachings. They offer alternative narratives, providing a window into the diversity of early Christian thought. They challenge our assumptions about the origins of Christianity, and they remind us that the story of the Bible is far more complex and fascinating than many realize. They offer a chance to explore a different side of the story, a side that was excluded, but not forgotten. They continue to inspire, provoke, and challenge us to think critically about the past, the present, and the future. The lost books are a testament to the enduring power of these ancient writings to shape our imaginations and to enrich our understanding of the world. Alright, so you're intrigued, you want to dive deeper, and you're wondering, where can you actually find these fascinating lost books? Well, the good news is that accessing these texts is easier than ever before. While they may have been lost to the official canon for centuries, they've been rediscovered, translated, and made readily available to anyone with an internet connection or a trip to their local library. Let's start with the digital realm. One of the best resources for exploring these texts is the Internet Sacred Texts Archive. This incredible online archive offers a vast collection of religious texts from around the world, including numerous translations of the lost books of the Bible. You can find the Book of Enoch, the Gospel of Thomas, the Gospel of Judas, and many others, all available for free online reading. The site is well organized, user-friendly, and provides a wealth of information, making it a great starting point for your exploration. Another excellent online resource is the Early Christian Writings website. This site provides a comprehensive collection of early Christian texts, including the non-canonical Gospels, apocryphal writings, and fragments of lost books. It offers multiple translations, scholarly articles, and background information, allowing you to delve into the historical context and understand the significance of these texts. This is a great place to compare different translations and to see how scholars interpret these ancient writings. Beyond these comprehensive archives, you can often find individual texts and translations on websites like Project Gutenberg and even on sites like Amazon, where you can purchase ebooks or access them through Kindle Unlimited. Many of these texts are in the public domain, meaning they're freely available for download and reading. Now, let's talk about physical resources. While the internet is a fantastic tool, there's something special about holding a book in your hands. Fortunately, numerous published translations of the lost books are readily available. Look for collections that include multiple texts, such as the Complete Gospels or the Apocryphal Gospels. These collections often provide introductions, annotations, and scholarly notes, which can be incredibly helpful in understanding the historical context and the theological significance of the texts. When choosing a translation, consider the translator and the intended audience. Some translations are more literal, while others aim for a more accessible and readable style. Look for translations that are based on the original languages, such as Greek and Aramaic, and that are accompanied by scholarly notes and commentary. If you're looking for recommended books, I suggest starting with a few key titles. The Gnostic Gospels, by Elaine Pagels, is a seminal work that provides a comprehensive overview of Gnosticism and its influence on early Christian thought. It's a must-read for anyone interested in the Gospel of Thomas and the Gospel of Judas. For the Book of Enoch, consider the translation by E. Isaac, which is widely considered to be a reliable and accessible version. Also, explore the works of Bart Ehrman, a prominent scholar of early Christianity. His books, such as Lost Christianities, delve into the diversity of early Christian beliefs and practices. Finally, don't be afraid to explore different perspectives and to read multiple translations. Each translation offers a slightly different interpretation, and by comparing them, you can gain a deeper understanding of the text. Remember, the lost books are not just historical artifacts, they are living texts that continue to challenge and inspire. So, go forth, explore, and discover the fascinating world of the lost books of the Bible. The treasures of the past await. So, we've journeyed through a world of forgotten scriptures, exploring the Book of Enoch, the Gospel of Thomas, the Gospel of Judas, and many other intriguing texts. We've seen how these books were excluded from the canon, the reasons behind their exclusion, and the lasting impact they've had on art, literature, and our understanding of early Christian thought. But before we wrap up, there's one crucial aspect we need to address: critical analysis. It's absolutely vital that we approach these lost books with a balanced and critical perspective. These texts, while fascinating, are not without their complexities and potential biases. They were written in specific historical and cultural contexts, and understanding those contexts is key to interpreting them accurately. First and foremost, consider the historical context. These books were not written in a vacuum. They emerged from a world of political turmoil, philosophical debates, and religious diversity. The rise of Gnosticism, the influence of the Roman Empire, and the evolving theological landscape all played a significant role in shaping these texts. By understanding the historical context, we can better appreciate the motivations of the authors, the intended audience, and the specific challenges and opportunities they faced. Next, be aware of potential biases. The authors of these texts were not objective reporters. They had their own beliefs, agendas, and perspectives. Some texts were written to promote specific theological viewpoints, while others were intended to challenge existing power structures. It's essential to identify these biases and to consider how they might have influenced the content of the texts. Ask yourself, who wrote this? What was their purpose? What are they trying to convince me of? Consider the different translations. Translations are interpretations, and different translators may have different biases or understandings of the original texts. Compare multiple translations to gain a more nuanced understanding of the meaning. Read the introductions, annotations, and scholarly notes provided by the translators and editors. They can offer valuable insights into the historical context, the theological significance, and the potential biases within the text. Don't simply accept everything at face value. Approach these texts with a healthy dose of skepticism. Question the claims made by the authors. Look for evidence to support their assertions. Consider alternative interpretations. Remember, these are ancient writings, and their meaning is often open to debate. Also, remember that these books were not universally accepted. The fact that they were excluded from the biblical canon is a significant point. The process of canonization was complex and involved debates, theological considerations, and political maneuvering. The books that made it into the Bible represent a specific set of beliefs and interpretations, and the lost books offer alternative perspectives. Finally, be open to different interpretations. There is no single, correct, way to understand these texts. Different scholars, theologians, and individuals may have different perspectives, and that's okay. Engage with those different perspectives, and allow yourself to be challenged. The goal is not to find the truth, but to broaden your understanding of the past and to develop your own informed opinions. So, the lost books offer a fascinating glimpse into the diverse landscape of early Christian thought. They challenge our assumptions and offer alternative perspectives on the life and teachings of Jesus. They are a treasure trove of ideas, stories, and insights. But to truly appreciate their value, we must approach them with a critical and balanced perspective. What are your thoughts on these texts? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more intriguing explorations. So, there you have it. We've journeyed through the hidden corners of early Christianity, exploring texts that were once revered, debated, and ultimately, left out of the official Bible. We've uncovered the Book of Enoch, with its apocalyptic visions and its glimpse into a world of angels and giants. We've met the Gospel of Thomas, a collection of Jesus' sayings that invites us to look inward for spiritual truth. We've grappled with the Gospel of Judas, a radical interpretation of betrayal that challenges everything we thought we knew about the crucifixion. And we've briefly touched on a host of other fascinating texts, each offering a unique perspective on the life and teachings of Jesus, and on the development of early Christian thought. But the journey doesn't end here. In many ways, it's just beginning. Because the real question is, what do you make of all of this? What do you think about these lost books? Do they change your understanding of the Bible? Do they offer a fresh perspective on the life and teachings of Jesus? Do they challenge your beliefs, or do they simply confirm what you already knew? Are you surprised by the diversity of thought that existed in the early Christian era? Do you find the Gnostic perspectives compelling, or do you find them heretical? What resonates with you most about these texts? What questions do they raise for you? The lost books are more than just historical curiosities. They are living texts that continue to spark debate, challenge assumptions, and inspire new interpretations. They offer a window into a world of alternative narratives, a world where the story of Christianity is far more complex and multifaceted than many of us realize. They remind us that the biblical canon, as we know it, is the product of a long and complex process, a process that involved debates, theological considerations, and, yes, even a bit of politics. By exploring these texts, we can gain a deeper appreciation for the richness and diversity of early Christian thought. We can challenge our own assumptions about the origins of Christianity and about the nature of faith itself. We can begin to see the Bible not as a single, monolithic text, but as a collection of diverse voices, each offering a unique perspective on the divine. I want to hear your thoughts. What did you find most interesting about this video? Were there any particular texts that resonated with you? Are there any questions that you still have? Share your insights, your opinions, and your reactions in the comments below. Let's start a conversation. Let's explore these fascinating texts together. Thank you for joining me on this exploration of the lost books of the Bible. I hope you found it as intriguing as I did. And don't forget to like this video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to the channel for more intriguing explorations into history, religion, and the mysteries of the past. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep seeking the truth.